Hi everyone, my name is Kimberly and I am working on the Judy Niemeyer Andromeda today. I am doing it as my own block of the month. I am not a certified instructor. I just thought that you guys might find some of these videos useful if you're trying to do it on your own, not going to a class. A lot of classes seem to be getting cut lately. From quilt stores, depending on where you're at. And so I just thought this might be helpful for you. If you've seen some of my previous videos on Andromeda, this is month 2, and I am working on B1 and B2 foundations. So right now I'm working on the B1s. I have my foundation papers here, as you can see, and these, especially the B2s, are pretty long, and so getting them under your throat of your machine can be a little cumbersome at times. So a trick that you can do is just roll up the excess, put a paper clip, or I like to use these little clips, and just clip it like that, making sure that the line that you're working on is not encumbered by that roll. So we're going to be working on line 1. And then as you work your way across, you just unroll it, reclip it, and then you've got that. And the excess that you've sewn is going to stick out of your machine on the left-hand side, and this will be under your throat. So it makes it a little less cumbersome to be able to get that under your machine. So the first step is we're going to do B1 and B2 pieces. So I've got my stack here of what I already cut and stacked up so that it's in order for me. So I'm going to grab the B11 and the B12 pieces, and they look completely different. So I'm going to set these guys aside so that they're out of my way. Now, the way that these templates work, it can be a little confusing sometimes to get this started. And I know there is a more correct way, and then there is my way that works just as well. And it's actually a trick that was taught to me by a certified studio. So it's not like it's just completely out of this world. So the way that is taught and that it shows in the book is to take your B1 piece, and so I have them right side up right now. I actually need the wrong side against the paper. So I'm going to flip this stack over, and I'm going to take the wrong side, if I can get just one of them here, take the wrong side and put that paper over the top. Now you can glue this down, and then you do your traditional paper piecing, and you fold this back on the solid line, use your add a quarter ruler, trim that off, and then you put your next piece on. However, there is another way to do it that eliminates that step. So what we're going to do, that wrong side still needs to go against that paper. And then the wrong side of B2 needs to go against that paper. So if I flip this one over like this and put it down, that's how it's going to look against the back of this guy. Okay. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to put those sew sides together. Okay. They're straight lines. It's all going to work out. Okay. And it's going to look like this. So I've got enough that my 1/4 inches are overlapped a little bit so that when I stitch that, they're not completely off kilter. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to lay it over the top of B1. So my B11 is wrong side up. My B12 underneath that is right side up, so that those right sides are together so that it'll come out correctly when it gets ironed open. So I'm going to lay this over the top of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this line here of the two pieces together with my dotted line for line 1 to get my 1/4 inch seam. Now when I do that, I want to make sure that this B11 piece fills in all of this that's within the dotted line of this piece on the foundation. And so I can move this up or down because it's not glued or anything at this point to be able to do that. The other thing that you can do is if you pick this whole thing up and you put it against some light, then that shows you that dotted line and makes it pretty easy to line up that 1/4 inch, okay? And so one thing, once I have that set, I'm gonna throw it under my machine and I'm gonna stitch on line 1. So you can see here that that is done. Now, I did shorten my stitch length a little bit so that when it's time to tear this paper off, it's much easier and you're not ripping out your threads. So that's what that looks like once you get it stitched on. When I open this up and iron it, my right sides are away from the paper, and my B2 piece should fill in everything within this dotted line piece, okay? And then from there, and holding it up to some light, and you guys can't see that because the light is different for you guys, but if I hold it up to light, then I can see that that fabric fills that whole space. And then it's just the traditional paper piecing where I'm gonna fold it on line 2, fold it back, use my add a 1/4, and trim that fabric, excess fabric off, and then I'll go to the next piece. Now, this is the hardest step for a lot of people, getting that first 2 pieces on without gluing and just making sure that everything is faced correctly, okay? So one thing that I do and that you can do to help yourself once you get it figured out and you know what this looks like is to then take your pieces and go ahead and stack them up, all of them together, and then put your papers on top of them. And one thing that I'll even do is, what I do is, so I make sure this guy's gonna stay right side up. My one piece is gonna go on top, wrong side up, so that the right sides are together. And so I'll actually take the whole stack, flip it over, that first one, flip it over so that it's wrong side, and then it goes on top of the second one. And I'll make the whole stack like that, especially once I have figured out that it's in the correct position, the correct direction, all of that. And I'll make a whole stack of them that way. It can be very challenging to make sure that you get your pieces placed properly and that your 1 is in the 1 position and your 2 is in the 2 position when you do this for the first piece. The rest of it, if you're used to paper piecing, is pretty straightforward because you're just adding 1 piece at a time. Well, this one where we're adding 2 pieces can be a little bit more of a challenge. But the biggest thing is you want to make sure that your number 1 piece is wrong side against your paper. And then your number 2 is going to be right side up to that number 1. And you can do like I showed you where you lay them out both wrong sides up so that you can make sure that it's going to fill that space where you need it to and that you have them lined up correctly, because if you've got pieces that are turned weird or anything like that, that is going to help you line those pieces up. These are pretty easy, straightforward pieces. They've got nice straight lines that run the whole length of that. So this one's actually pretty easy. But I hope that helps you start this process for the foundations for B1, I've got these guys going. This is my first 2 pieces from this stack, and I am going to sew on these, and then I will talk to you a little bit more about finishing these up, and then I'll go into the B2 foundation papers. And I'll go over this step again when I do the B2 foundation papers, because again, this is something that doing a lot of these, this is the one piece of it that a lot of people struggle with, to make sure that they get the right pieces in the right place. So we want to make sure that that works out well for you. So I hope this video helps you if you're doing this on your own, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.